Many people have asked me this year, as last year, what should we do at the Pesach Seder table to remember the hostages and the tragic things that are still unfolding in the land of Israel? And I suggested there's one particular part of the Seder that really would be appropriate to remember. And that is, I got my handy Maxwell House Haggadah here, and it says, right before we get to the Dayenus, it says, V'hisha amdala v'oseina v'lanu, that this has stood for our forefathers and for us. What is this? This is, you go back to the previous paragraph, this is the promise that God made for the Jewish people. He made it to Abraham, passed it on to Isaac, passed it to Jacob. It went down with us to Egypt, and it came out with us from Egypt. It's the promise that God says that our people will never be wiped out and erased or eradicated. And this promise, says the Haggadah, has stood for us all this time, because not only then do we have enemies, people trying to get rid of the Jewish people, but in every generation, constantly, we always have enemies arising to try to snuff out our light. Whether it's the Greeks, the Romans, the Babylonians, the Persians, whether it's the Nazis, whether it's Hamas or Hezbollah, we've had enemies and we have enemies. And the promise is that the Jewish people will never, ever be wiped out. Will never, ever lose. Will never be eradicated. But our light will continue to shine, that the purpose for which the Jewish people were taken out of Egypt, to be a light unto the nations, and to teach humanity about compassion and righteousness, about honesty and civility and humanity, what it means to be a mensch, a selfless mensch. That's what the Jewish people were taken out of Egypt to show to humanity. And that message and that light and that goal will never, ever disappear. You often wonder, what do these enemies of ours think? Don't they look back at our track record? 3,337 years, we've had plenty of enemies. They're all gone, and we're still here. You got to be foolish to start up with us. But that's the way that it's gone for the Jewish people, and that's the way it goes. And this promise is a very important message for us at the Seder table. We have to tap into the promise to be that people that we promised God we would be when He took us out of Egypt, and that God has promised us that our enemies will never be successful, never succeed. And remember, even those that are suffering in captivity still to this day, that they should be released and they should rejoin us. And the Jewish people, we have our promise. And we'll have our enemies and we'll have our victory. Have a wonderful Pesach, meaningful Seder. And let's tap back into the eternal light that the Jewish people shine.